Zando Penguin Audio presents Celestial Banquet by Roselle Lim, narrated by Natalie Naudus.
To Mike Lasagna, and for those with an insatiable craving for magic and mayhem. When the major gods banished Death and his demons into a great chasm, they built a new heavenly world, free from the shroud of darkness. Mortals can still die, but they do so from natural causes, accidents, regretfully murder, no longer at death's whims and moods. To commemorate this great victory, they vowed to return to the mortal world for a decennial feast called the Celestial Banquet. Teams from each province of the mortal empire assemble, a sponsor, a noble, a guardian, and a candidate, to compete to win the gods' favor at the banquet table. If chosen, they are each rewarded with a gift, a Peach of Immortality. If they fail, they face the wrath of the gods. Origins, Second Scroll, Great Library of Xianling. 1. Inside the auction house, the air vibrated like a locust swarm. Kama, our local minor god, held court at the edge of the crowd, pushing off the followers trying to shower him with pricey culinary tributes. His magnetic, pupilless eyes sparked with their own energy. It was the draw of legendary ingredients that brought him here. Otherwise, it was rare to see him up at this time. The murmuring mass moved toward the podium for the day's prize. My boss, Tondo the Tall, watched on the balcony reserved for restaurateurs, along with his rival, Lao Sung. I elbowed my way to the front of the crowd. A giant, golden singing carp glistened in the dim dawn light, transforming the balcony gallery where the heavy purses of our city of Lupong's restaurateurs waited, fingers itching to spend and snap up the best haul from the incoming Mutian ships, into a prismatic rainbow. Truth be told, it was mostly held by their assistants. The rich couldn't be bothered to rise before the scorching sun hung high in the sky. For the rest of us in the peninsula, coin wasn't going to earn itself if you didn't get up early. Someone would always be hungrier, ready to snatch opportunity from your hands. And the only way you could taste the faraway ocean was through the jewels Mutian fishermen harvested from its depths. Every shell cracked and fish gutted yielded the briny perfume of endless water. I raised my eyes to catch the signal my boss made. He tugged on his left earlobe to confirm the plan to acquire the carp. A female carp yielded a small number of eggs, and this particular rare species created a buttery, nutty roe that was prized by the nobility. The buzz swept under my skin. I might get to taste this miraculous fish for myself. If I won the auction today, it'd be served up over a steaming bowl of 7 treasure congee at Tondo the Tall's flagship restaurant, the Majestic Isle, a glorious 2-story building serving as a tribute to his maternal Mutian Island heritage. Tondo the Tall thumbed his nose at the elite, poked prejudice in the eye, and won by succeeding as one of the 3 Mutian businesses on the mainland. He would demand an exorbitant price from the nobles for this dish. Of everyone I worked for, he was the only one who earned my respect. It also helped that he was once best friends with my baba. Workers moved to clear a tank of spiky purple eels to make way for the fabled carp, which was placed on a box of ice at the center of the room. All the prized goods in the auction house came with the adage, "Buyers beware." Everything was presented as is. The onus was on runners like me to inspect the goods before purchase. With quick jabs of my pointy elbows, I jostled to dislodge 2 interlopers flanking me. Everyone wanted a closer look, but nothing was going to stop me from my examination. The carp's scales shimmered, and its vacant eyes were glossy, indicating it was at the peak of health during capture. All eyes were on its distended belly and its promises of a cache. The last golden singing carp had sold 3 months ago, and it was male. It had commanded a steep price of 700 gold pieces. A female could fetch even more. I leaned closer, but was yanked back by my collar. "Don't even think about it, Sai." I recognized that jerk's voice. Junfeng was Lao Sung's runner on the floor. He was 7 years older than me, and had the temerity only a firstborn noble could possess. While many considered him handsome, I would beg to differ. I'd rather clean the public outhouses for a year than give him the time of day. "Keep your hands to yourself," I smacked his arm away. "Don't you have a doorway to darken or older noble woman to woo?" "Are you jealous?" He made a hasty confirmation signal to his employer above. "I'm winning the carp for Lao Sung. Don't get any ideas." I snorted, craned over his shoulder to get a better view of the carp's tail, and caught sight of the vent. There was something about it. But before I could examine it any further, Junfeng subtly tugged his ear, signaling that he had confirmed the carp's sex as female. Given Junfeng's determination, the resulting price would be far too astronomical to risk, especially since it wasn't my coin to spend. My boss had taught me that value was universal, while price was driven by emotion. I caught Tondo's eye and scratched my left eyebrow. We'd bow out. His subsequent nod was almost imperceptible. Bidding began at a cautious 80 pieces. 100 gold pieces, Junfeng cried, then hissed in my ear, "A dirty Mutian like Tondo will never win against Lao Sung." That did it. No one was allowed to talk garbage about my employer and get away with it. Junfeng and his elitist employer would pay. I raised my hand with 3 fingers to increase the bidding to 300. I kept my eyes firmly on the auctioneer and prayed Tondo the Tall trusted me. This would only work if it seemed real. If not, I was gambling with someone else's coffers and my job. Junfeng shadowed my movements. I kept raising the price until it climbed to 1,000 pieces. It was between him and me, disproving his insult earlier about Tondo the Tall's financial capacity. 1,500 gold pieces, Junfeng declared to a silent room. His face was flushed with triumph. I shook my head and made an exaggerated gesture of defeat by stomping my feet. The auctioneer pointed to Junfeng and declared him the winner. The rat pumped his fist and danced around with glee. Above him, Lao Sung scoffed at Tondo the Tall and readied to head down to the floor to examine his trophy. I ignored the corners of my lips that itched to smile. "Sai!" I turned my head and found Bo, my best friend, waiting nearby. He stood a head taller than everyone else and was still half a head shorter than my employer. He used his broad shoulders and size to weave his way through the crowd to my side. Bo came from a family of farmers living outside of Lupong. The scent of sunshine, sweet grass, and pine trees clung to his skin. His ink-dark hair was tied in a topknot, and his rugged features drew looks from the girls nearby. "Wow, is that a female carp? No wonder." His words trailed off when he noticed my smirk. I cupped my hand over his ear. Somebody overpaid. Bo let out a low whistle and stared at the fish being handled by Lao Sung. "Did you do what I think you did?" I winked. After many bags of coin had exchanged hands, Lao Sung hoisted the big fish above his head to the roar of the crowd. Patience was a virtue that I never had much of, but today I stretched out what little I possessed. They all waited to see the cache of precious roe. Too bad they'd be disappointed. Tondo the Tall came down to the floor to join us where we watched the scene from a few feet away. His steps were light, despite his size. He wore traditional Mutian robes in woven gold and bronze batik, which contrasted against the silk robes of his peers. Fluid tattoos of water and waves covered his muscular brown forearms. He wore Mutio well and with pride. "It's a male, isn't it?" Tondo the Tall turned to me with his lips tipped upward. "And that cocky bastard paid twice as much. This is a delicious development." Lao Sung pulled up his silk sleeves. His long mustache twitched as he withdrew an ornate knife from his belt. He made a careful incision in the fish, hoping to
Sample complete. Ready to continue?